back to my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about a topic that I have had a really hard time understanding when I first started gardening, and that was winter interest. What is winter interest? And you know, when I first started gardening, because I live here in Toronto in Canada, I always thought about gardening as something we do in the spring, more essentially in the summer. I didn't even really understand spring gardening when I first started, because when I moved into this house, I only saw some plants or flowers bloom in the summer, and I thought that's what's happening, right? So I wasn't really fully understanding of what winter interest is, let alone winter gardening. So when I got into gardening and I really understood what it was like to have a garden, what maintenance is required, what types of plants there are out there, I really understood the meaning of winter interest. And by winter interest is a very key design element for everyone to address when they are planning their garden, because it provides you with a structure, with something, a structure in your garden as the winter months progress, because so that your garden doesn't just look like, it's completely like dirt and with dying perennials. That's not what we want our garden or our landscape to look like. So there are key plants that provide foundational planting, and more often than not, those are evergreens. So we use a lot of evergreens to provide that foundational planting within your beds, so that the evergreen plants, the role for them is to provide that structure all throughout the year. So whether it's winter, summer, spring, they will be green, and they will stay in your garden and provide that color and that interest in your garden, so that it doesn't look all completely dead or just a field of dirt. So that's not what we want in our garden. So that's what winter interest will provide. But evergreens are not the only thing that provide winter interest. If you look at this tree behind me, this is to me providing structure in my garden. It's providing me the essential winter interest. The branching is beautiful to look at. It is going to still occupy the space. It's not dying back to the ground. And when it snows, it looks beautiful in the garden, because all the branches, they will catch the snow and it still looks so pretty. So this is what is another example. So trees and shrubs, they are structural elements as well in your garden that will provide that winter interest to you. And I want to walk around today in my own garden and show you some ideas of winter interest and how to plan for it. I mean, when you're planning a garden bed, think about the evergreen structures, the ones that are not going to lose their leaves. And these could be evergreens such as yews, boxwoods, there could be pine, there could be spruce, there could be all kinds of different evergreen plants. And then there are also broadleaf evergreens. You can look at rhododendrons, azaleas, you can look at I have Pieris japonica, which is evergreen in the winter. And based on your zone, there could be a lot of other evergreens, like there's sunshine ligustrum, there is nandina, there's all kinds of other evergreens that are in your zone that are evergreen and broadleaf, and they still look beautiful and not lose their leaves in the winter. And to me, a plant like hellebores is also an evergreen plant. It is in the shade and it has broad leaves and it still stays green. Pachysandra stays green in the winter, as well as there are evergreen ferns. Like I have the autumn brilliance fern, which is also looking beautiful and still has all its leaves in the winter. So there are lots of plants that are not evergreen that will still provide you with that winter interest. And I would not also forget the perennials. I mean, if you do not like cleaning up your gardens like I don't, I leave a lot of my perennials. I find the seed heads to be beautiful, the branches to be beautiful, and as snow collects on them, they add to the structure of the garden. And so do ornamental grasses. I mean, they have their blooms and their grasses, they turn this really nice white straw-like color, and they add that architectural structure still in your garden. So lots of plants can provide that winter interest, and it's important for you to look for that when you are planting, or to think about it when you're planting, so that your garden still has structure, still has some interest in the winter, and it still looks cohesive in your design. And that is something I am working on, and I constantly work on in my garden from the time that I have understood a bit more about the design elements and gardening, and also what I like looking at. And it's so personal. It's so much of it is how you would like to what your gardening gives to you in terms of the joy it gives you, in terms of what you want to look at. I mean, I find branching and trees and shrubs and different branching a lot more attractive than just having an evergreen. And I like evergreens as well, and I don't have too many of them, but I do love the different leaf shapes, and I am slowly starting to think about adding them in my backyard. I have been working and thinking about it more and more this season, to kind of see how I can incorporate some evergreens in my backyard, because I don't have those traditional evergreens like boxwoods and yews and pine. I have a couple of dwarf mughal pines, and that's pretty much it. And then I have hellebores and autumn ferns and things like that. So I am going to think about putting some other boxwoods and things like that in my garden, so that I can have that for as winter interest. And now is a good time to assess winter interest in your garden. Walk around in your garden, figure out what is working for you, where you feel you can add something that will provide that winter interest in your garden. So without further ado, let me walk around and let me show you what's in my garden that are examples of winter interest that you can consider adding to your garden. And I hope you like this video. Do give me the thumbs up, and I will catch you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. So here is an example of winter interest. So these are my front foundation evergreen shrubs that I've had since I've had this house. They were already planted before I moved in, and I have enjoyed them. Actually, they've been providing me with really good structure. As you can see, this is a yew shrub, and I like that it creates a little bit of a wall and gives me a little bit of privacy as I go into my backyard, and just creates this beautiful nook for me over here. I also have a boxwood here, and I also have a euonymus here as well, which has got a nice different leaf. It's got this white and green variegation, and I really like how this looks, especially at night. It really stands out and adds this brightness in this corner here. So there are also several other boxwoods here that provide that winter interest. I also have a spruce here that provides winter interest. And here's an example of an ornamental grass that also provides the winter interest. I will walk closer and give you a little close-up of that. And here is a beautiful smoke tree that I have here, which also provides this architectural structure with its branching. And you can find lots of trees with very interesting barks and peeling barks, and also different colored stems like the red dogwood, as well as yellow twig dogwoods that can provide you with that winter interest. So here are some examples of winter interest in my garden. And I love having these plants throughout winter to provide me with that color and structure. And also they look beautiful in the summer to support my other plants. And I also have another beautiful euonymus here. And I also have another evergreen here as well. So it's just a really nice way to have this structure, which is ever present in the garden and gives you that color and green in the winter. Ground cover type perennials that you can plant in your garden, which will stay green. I recently planted this one called Lithodora, which has beautiful blue flowers in the spring summer, but at this time of the year it's a beautiful mat of green leaves, and it looks really, really beautiful. Plant that stays green is this spring heath, and this one is actually going to be blooming. It has formed its flower buds and it's going to be blooming soon as well. So it's a beautiful evergreen, very tiny shrub that you can add to your garden that provides this beautiful delicate foliage and really pretty pink flowers. So another one that really offers a beautiful winter interest, and this is one plant that I will consider adding a few more of in my garden, especially in my backyard. Here is a close-up of ornamental grass that I have. This one is little zebra. It's a miscanthus, and its plumes look beautiful in the winter, and ornamental grasses add such wonderful structure in the garden in the winter time. And I love the color of the straw-like grass that turns the straw-like beigey earthy tone, which looks really pretty as a backdrop. And look at this against the stem of this beautiful Japanese maple, and it looks really gorgeous. It adds a nice winter interest in the garden. An example of another ground cover, this is Angelina sedum that I have in my rock garden. It's looking stunning in the winter time. The color has changed to more of an orangey yellow color. It started changing in the fall, and it's just looking so beautiful. It's spread so nicely, and it's kind of really offering this pop of color in the garden. And I also have a lot of other hens and chicks and other little ground cover type succulents in this garden that are still evergreen, and they're looking really beautiful in this rock garden as well. So, and also there are heucheras that can still be evergreen. If it doesn't get too cold, they preserve their leaves and they look beautiful and add these pops of color in the garden. Some examples of perennials and how they look in the garden. They look really beautiful with their seed heads. This is sedum autumn joy. Has beautiful bronzy colored blooms. They were bright pink in the fall, late summer fall, and now they are this beautiful orange kind of rust color, which looks really beautiful with snow on it. And even when there is no snow on it, they still look pretty. I still have these yarrow seed heads as well that look beautiful, and of course the coneflower seed heads also look really beautiful in the winter garden and provide an excellent source of food for the birds. They've been eating these, but there are still plenty to go, and they look beautiful. And the other benefit of leaving seed heads is that there is a bit of self-sowing that can happen, and it gives me more plants and I can move them around where I need them, and I love doing that as well. So these offer winter interest as well in the garden, and they look really nice with your evergreen shrubs as a contrast with these green evergreen shrubs. This is another yew that I have as well, and it kind of, there is also this beautiful hydrangea that I leave. This is another example of a shrub that offers winter interest. Its branches, its dried flowers, they all look so beautiful at this time of the year, and the colors just go with the mood of the season, and they look really beautiful and offer that structure. So this is another example as well, and I hope I was able to give you a lot of examples here that will give you ideas of things you can add in your own garden to add winter interest. I have a couple more to show you in my backyard, and I'm going to walk over and show you those now. Plants like lavender can also stay evergreen throughout the winter, and they also look really beautiful in the winter garden. And also another ground cover is this candy tuft, which I recently planted, and it's also staying green in my garden, and I love how this looks and adds this beautiful punch of green in the garden in the winter time. Also several rhododendrons that will stay evergreen in the garden, and you can find camellias, rhododendrons in your area that are cold hardy and will do really well. I have this one here which is really beautiful with its leaf color, and it looks really nice in the garden at this time of the year, especially with all the dried leaves. It kind of goes with the color tones that are in the garden at this time. and just beautiful. This is another rhododendron that I have, which is, you know, the leaves are curled a little bit because of the cold, but it still stays green, and it is going to offer you with that winter interest and color in the garden, as well as structure. This one will get quite tall when it matures, and I think with the branching it's gonna look really good in this spot as it matures in my garden. But not least, I want to show you a couple of perennials here in my shade garden. I have this beautiful autumn brilliance fern that is evergreen, and it's keeping its green foliage, and it's still looking really good in my garden at this time of the year. And I also have lots of hellebores, which also look green in the garden, and they provide that winter interest. So here are some ideas for you, and I hope, you know, you found a little bit more about winter interest by watching this video. And I've learned a lot as I've been watching lots of videos on my own, as well as reading a lot of books and looking for inspiration everywhere, and finding ways on how I can improve winter interest in my garden. And this is a lovely time to walk around and see what else you can add to your own gardens to provide that winter interest. For me, I certainly do want to add a lot more winter interest in my backyard garden. I think I can add a few more evergreens in this garden to just really liven it up in the winter and add a few pops of color across this backyard garden. So that's what I plan to do this coming season, is add some key evergreens in this backyard garden, and just so that it can provide me with that winter interest. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are new, do consider subscribing to my channel, and I will catch you in my next video. I hope everyone has a fabulous day wherever you're joining me from.